Drop it.
Hello once again, welcome to our e-learning for week number 8, and this will be our last video for this week and this online learning. Alright, let's start our lesson summary for all grammar lessons we finished for the past 7 weeks. And here are your materials for today. Kindly prepare them, and if you are prepared, let's start our lesson. So this will be our schedule for today. So we finished Sunday, vocabulary summary. You finished also Monday, Socrative assignment. And today is Wednesday, and we're going to talk about everything we covered on grammar, summary lesson, and you're going to answer today required worksheet, and you are going to send it to my email. So let's go to the discussion for all grammar lessons. We finished actually 3 major lessons, and here are the following. For lesson 1, we finished subordinating conjunctions, dependent and independent clauses. In lesson 2, we finished kinds of nouns, and in lesson number 3, we finished direct quotations and interjections. So let's start discussing lesson number 1. Subordinating conjunctions. So what are subordinating conjunctions? Connects two thoughts to make a complex sentence. So this is the meaning of a subordinating conjunction. The thought with the subordinating conjunction cannot stand alone. It needs the rest of the sentence to make sense. So for example, here are the subordinating conjunctions that we used before. So if, because, while, when, and although. So these words are what we call subordinating conjunctions. And with these subordinating conjunctions, the words with it cannot stand alone. So here are some examples of subordinating conjunctions. So when you compare, you can use than rather than, whether, as much as, whereas. If you're using for time, after, until, whenever, now, that, something like that. If you're talking about place, you can use where or wherever. Alright? So you can pause this video and take note as much as possible for subordinating conjunctions. Alright? So let's go to some examples and practice number 1. So what are you going to do right now is I want you to circle the subordinating conjunction in each sentence. I'm going to give you time. So kindly pause this video and answer them, please. Now that you are done answering them, let's answer the following. So we're going to circle the subordinating conjunction for each. So here are they. So for number 1, we have although. Although is a subordinating conjunction. Next, since is a subordinating conjunction. For number 3, because. That's a subordinating conjunction. For number 4, we plan to head home if the rain became too heavy. If is the subordinating conjunction. And for number 5, while we were at the beach, we picked up some seashells. While, and number 6, when the first raindrops fell, we walked back to the car. So for number 6, we have when. Alright? So those are the subordinating conjunctions in each sentences. Alright? So here are the following dependent clauses. So here are the words or group of words that cannot stand alone because of the subordinating conjunction. So we can read it then. Although it was cloudy. So as you can see, although it was cloudy, it cannot stand alone because it doesn't make sense. Although it was cloudy, even if you repeat reading it all over again, it will not make sense because it needs these words to make it complete, to make it a complete thought, or to make it more sensible. Alright? Since the weather was still warm, see, again, this is a dependent clause because it cannot stand alone. The same with number 3, because it looked like it might rain. Again, it doesn't make sense because it cannot stand alone because of the subordinating conjunction here. And we need the following words. We took our umbrellas to make it complete. Alright? So that's the first lesson that we discussed before about subordinating conjunctions. So we have a list of subordinating conjunctions, and with subordinating conjunctions, phrases or group of words cannot stand alone with them. Alright? Let's go to lesson number 2 that we finished before. Complex sentences and clauses. So we have the following words. Complex sentences or sentence, dependent clause, and independent clause. So we discussed in lesson number 1 that subordinating conjunctions are needed to make complex sentences. So they are used to make complex sentences. So what are complex sentences? Made up of a dependent and an independent clause. So if we put a dependent clause and independent clause together, we call that sentence a complex sentence because we have 2 types of clauses inside. We have dependent clause and independent clause. So what are these clauses, by the way? When we talk about dependent clause, it begins with a subordinating conjunction. For example, if, while, because, after, although, none, nevertheless, something like that. And it cannot stand alone. So it doesn't make sense. It cannot stand alone because of the subordinating conjunction. So it's quite easy to find dependent clause because you will need to find first the subordinating conjunction before knowing that it's a dependent clause. All right. For independent clause, it makes sense and can stand alone. So these groups of words, they look like simple sentences. They mean something and they can stand alone in a complex sentence. All right. They don't need a dependent clause. They don't need another groups of words to make them complete or to make them stand alone. All right. So when it started to rain, we went inside. So we're going to look for the dependent clause and independent clause. So this is an example of what? This is an example of a complex sentence. Okay, so when it started to rain, we went inside. So we will find two types of clauses here. We will find independent clauses and dependent clauses. So let's look for the dependent clause first. So dependent clause begins with a subordinating conjunction. So let's find the subordinating conjunction first. So we have here when. So when it started to rain. So that is our dependent clause. Again, it's very easy to find dependent clause because you are going to look for a subordinating conjunction only. And through with it until the comma. Okay, so most of the time it ends in a comma. All right. So until the comma, all of these words will be called dependent clause. So when it started to rain, we read it again. When it started to rain. Now, question. Does it make sense? Can it stand alone? No, because this is a dependent clause. It cannot stand alone. It doesn't make sense. So if the groups of words cannot stand alone or it doesn't make sense to you, it is automatically called a dependent clause. Now, let's look for the independent clause. So independent clause, again, they make sense and can stand alone. So let's read these other groups of words. So we went inside. So we went inside. It makes sense. It can stand alone. So therefore, we can say that we went inside is what we call an independent clause. All right. So as you can see, that's a dependent clause because of the subordinating conjunction when. And this is an independent clause because this makes sense and it can stand alone. All right. Let's go to some examples. And this will be your practice number 2. So what are you going to do with this activity? You're going to underline the independent clause. So just like we did in the example, and put the dependent clause in a box. Okay. Please pause this video and kindly answer them. And if you are done, let's discuss the answers. All right. So for number 1, the dependent clause is because a hurricane was coming. How do we know this? Because of the word because. So because is a subordinating conjunction and the words with it, following it, a hurricane was coming, will be automatically part of the dependent clause. Now let's read it. Because a hurricane was coming. It doesn't make sense. It cannot stand alone. So it means that this is a dependent clause. All right. So therefore, these other words, we boarded up the windows. This is an example of an independent clause. All right. Let's go to number 2. So after we finish is the dependent clause. Again, because of the word after. So you can see after here, we were finished. So after is the subordinating conjunction and the words with it until the comma. So it's easy. It's easy to find because you just look for the first word and then up to the comma. All right. So most of the time there's a comma and that will be the dependent clause. And therefore, this we went to the store for supplies. It makes sense. It can stand alone. We call it independent clause. For number 3, because the storm could knock down power lines. Again, you can see the word because until the comma. This one is what we call a dependent clause. And the others, we bought flashlights. It makes sense. It can stand alone. We call this an independent clause. All right. Let's go to number 4. We wanted to hurry back before the storm started. So you can see before here. Therefore, before the storm started is your dependent clause. And the other words, we wanted to hurry back, is your independent clause. For number 5, when we returned home, the rain began to fall. So as you can see here, there's a comma. Therefore, might be that the first word is a subordinating conjunction. So this is a subordinating conjunction. When we returned home is your dependent clause. And the rain began to fall. If you read it again, it makes sense. It can stand alone. We call this independent clause. And finally, while the hurricane raged, we stayed safe inside. So while, as you can see, is a subordinating conjunction. And while the hurricane raged, up to the comma is what we call what? a dependent clause. And finally, we stayed safe inside. If you read it again, we stayed safe inside. It makes sense. It can stand alone. We call this an independent clause. All right? So that's the examples and your practice number 2 for lesson number 2. All right? You can pause this video so that you can copy some of the examples. Now, let's go to lesson number 3 that we finished before. And these are the kinds of nouns. So we finished proper noun, common noun, singular noun, and plural noun. Okay? So for proper noun is a name of a particular person, place, or a thing. So we've discussed this many times before in our English grammar lessons. So when we talk about particular person, which means that we are talking about specific person. So we're talking about literally the name of that place, literally the name of that thing, and literally the name of that person. For example, Mr. John is an example of proper noun. Mr. White, okay? Statue of Liberty, Albida Park, something like that. So the specific name or particular name of a place, thing, or a person is what we call a proper noun. Let's go to common noun. So common is a name of a person, place, or thing. So it's any name. Any name. For example, we can call that a bicycle. We can call that park. We can call that a person. We can call someone a doctor. We can call someone a teacher. We can call a place hospital, something like that. Okay? So it means that we're talking about any name of a person, place, or thing. It's not particular. Okay? So for singular noun, names only one person, place, or thing. So this one is quite easy because if you know that there's no that there's only one thing or one person or one place or one event, you're talking about singular nouns. For example, one bike, bike, one watch, watch, one bottle, bottle. Okay, so everything that is one, we use singular noun, and for many, we use plural noun. So names more than one person, place, or things. So if there are three games, so that's the explanation for these kinds of nouns. So we can actually put them together also, as you can see over here. So there are singular common nouns: ship, man, watch, river. Okay, so as you can see, they are singular. They are only one ship, one man, one watch, one river. Okay, and these all are common nouns. Ship, it's not particular. Man, it's not particular. Watch and river, not particular. Now let's go to plural common nouns. So plural, which means they should be many. So we put s or es. So most of the time, most nouns, we add only s or es. But some nouns we call irregular nouns, we change the name, or we change some letters of the word itself to make them plural. For example, man. Okay, man for singular, man for, we change it to e to make it plural. So ships, man, watches, rivers, that's for the plural common nouns. Now for singular proper nouns, we have Titanic. Titanic is a name of a ship, particular name of a ship. Mr. Brown is a particular name of a person. Rolex is a brand for watch. And Mississippi River is particular name for one river in United States. So as you can see, all are proper and all are only one. Okay, so one Titanic, one Mr. Brown, one Rolex, and one Mississippi River. So you can see it here. In plural proper nouns, we have Americans. So proper noun that are plural. So Americans, Koreans, Arabs, and Asians. So as you can see, all are plural because of the S, and all are proper nouns because they are capitalized and they are specific name of races around the world. Okay. Now let's go to the activity. Now I want you to circle the common noun and underline the proper noun. So circle the common, underline the proper, and identify them as singular or plural. So I'm giving you again time. So please pause this video and kindly answer 1 to 5. Let's answer 1 to 5. Where is the common noun and proper noun in the following activity? So for number 1, ships is your common noun and Titanic is your proper noun. Okay, so Titanic is considered singular because it's one, and ships, that's plural because it's two or more. Next, for number 2, the farm is located in Texas. So the farm is located in Texas. So farm is your common noun and Texas is your proper noun. So farm is singular because it's only one, there's no S, there's no ES, something like that. Texas is only one place, so that's singular also. Let's go to number 3. Germans were unhappy to lose the war. So find the common and proper noun. So we have war is your common noun. Germans is your proper noun. Okay, so Germans is plural because of the S there. There are many Germans. So we have singular for war. Okay. For number 4, Mr. Greenlee built it to help the sailors. So let's find the common noun. The common noun is sailors, and Mr. Greenlee is your proper noun. How many Mr. Greenleys? We have only one, so singular. How many sailors? Sailors, that's many, so that's plural. And finally, Nathan wanted to become a doctor. So doctor is your common noun, and Nathan is your proper noun, and singular for Nathan, and doctor is also singular. You can pause this video so that you can copy these examples. Alright, let's go to the next lesson. It's lesson number 4, direct quotations. So direct quotations presents the exact words of another writer or a speaker. So if you are presenting exact words coming from a writer or coming from a speaker, you are using what we call a direct quotation. So some examples are the following. For letter A, the man asked, "What are you doing here?" And for letter B, learning never stops. As you can see, we have 2 examples of direct quotations here. First letter, we have the tag. The man asked is what we call the tag. And here for letter B, we have only the direct quotations without any tags. Okay? So there's a similarity between A and B. And here are the following rules for direct quotations. Direct quotations rules are the following. We have to follow the CQPC rule. What is CQPC rule? So first, we need to capitalize the first word, put quotation marks, punctuation mark first before closing quotation mark, and in tags, letter A is a tag, put a comma in between. So let's check if these 2 examples are following these rules. Okay, so let's look for capitalize the first word. So do we capitalize the word what? Yes, so that's correct. Let's go to the quotation marks, put the open and close quotation marks. So we have the open here and the close quotation marks. Another, correct. Punctuation mark first before closing quotation mark. So let's see if it's first. Very good. So the question mark or the punctuation mark here comes first before the closing quotation mark, which is correct. And finally, for tags, put a comma in between. So this is a tag, the man asked. So the man asked, and what are you doing here? There should be a comma in between. So that's the comma over there. So number 1, letter A, follows the correct rule in putting direct quotations. How about letter B? For letter B, there should be no comma because this has no any tag. So learning never stops. So let's check again. Is learning capitalized? Yes, capital L. Do we have open and close quotation marks? We have it here. And punctuation mark should be going first before the closing quotation mark. So we have it here also, which is correct. So the period comes before the closing quotation mark. So A and B are following CQPC or the rules for direct quotations. All right. So let's go to some example and practice number 4. So what are you going to do is add quotation marks, commas, capitalization, and correct punctuation marks for 1 to 5. Please pause this video and try to answer this once and for all. If you are done, okay, let's check your answers. All right. So here are the following answers for 1 to 5. So for number 1, my mom asked, "Where do you want to go?" So it was missing. So we were missing comma, the open and close quotation mark, and also the punctuation mark. And we have capitalization correct. So Maria replied, comma, open and close quotation mark, and the punctuation mark period over here, "I will not go to the party." Next, number 3, he exclaimed, comma, so comma over here, the open and close quotation mark, and before this closing quotation mark, there should be a punctuation mark, exclamation point. So because of the word exclaim. So what we are missing right now here is only the close and the open and close quotation marks. And for number 5, he answered. So that's period, open and close quotation mark only. All right. So these are the answers for practice number 4 for direct quotations. Now let's go and discuss writing tips. So I'm going to ask you again to write some examples. So 5 sentences using direct quotations, and here are the following. So it's quite easy to make direct quotations coming from what you read. You need to do first the tag. Okay, so we have 5 examples of tags here. So you can change the names, you can change the people who are talking about. So Diane said, you can change it to Liane or something. He stated, or you can say she stated, or you can say they stated. We answered. You can say right, she answered or he answered. The guard asked, by dad exclaimed. So you can write different examples of tags first, and then you can add some words. Okay, don't forget that it should be capitalized, open and close quotation marks, and the punctuation should be first there before the closing quotation mark. Okay, so Diane said, I want to buy a new bag. You can change the words. Again, capitalize, open and close quotation marks, the period there. We should buy food first. So for number 3, we have we answered. We are not prepared today. So we is capitalized, open and close quotation marks, and don't forget the punctuation mark. Where are you going? Because the word is ask. Remember, answered, stated, and said. We end it in a period or full stop. When the word is asked, we also use we always use question mark. And finally, this game is so exciting. It's exclaimed, so exclamation point, and don't forget capitalization and your open and close quotation marks. All right. So these are your tips. You can pause this video so that you can copy and get some ideas of these examples. All right. We can go now to our last lesson that we finished before, and these are interjections. Interjections are, they show strong feelings such as urgency, disbelief, annoyance, pain, shock, or surprise. So strong feelings. When you're showing strong feelings to a person, or when you're in your dialogue, when you're talking and you're showing surprise, shock, or pain, you use these words. Okay, and we call them interjections. So they usually appear at the beginning of sentences. Examples: hey, ouch, wow, yes, and no way. These examples, you use them sometimes in your English language, in your speech. All right. So they are followed by exclamation points. So we discussed this before. When it's too strong, you use exclamation point, and if it's a mild feeling only, you use a comma. All right, I'll show you some examples and you can answer it with me. So this is practice number 5 and some examples. Underline the interjections from 1 to 5. Kindly pause this video and answer them. It's quite easy. So let's answer them. For number 1, yay, I won this game. So yay is your interjection, and it is followed by an exclamation point because it's showing strong emotion. OMG, or oh my god, I saw ghosts outside. So that's the interjection. Unbelievable, that just happened. Unbelievable is your interjection. Ouch, you step on my foot. That's interjection again. What, you have 1 million followers? That's again another interjection. So as you can see, most of the time, interjection is followed by an exclamation point, but sometimes it is followed by a comma when there's only a mild or low feelings. All right, let's go and discuss the how to answer your worksheet for today. I'm going to open it right now. So here is your worksheet for today. So it will be required. So you're going to answer question 1 to 5, and everything is actually explained in the video right now. So you need to watch this video from start to finish. So for question number 1, you're going to circle the subordinating conjunction and underline the dependent clause with it, just like the examples I've shown in the video. For question number 2, you're going to find the independent clause and the dependent clause. For question number 3, you're going to find the common nouns and the proper nouns and identify them as singular or plural. For number 4 and 5, you're going to write some examples of direct quotations. And for question number 5, you're going to write 5 examples of interjections. Like these examples are what you have done before. So that's how to answer the worksheet for today. So I think that's the end of our lesson for today. Thanks for watching. This is Mr. Johnson signing off. Thank you and goodbye.